cover, Wicked World.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna record. But yeah, like you're or welcome back, everyone.
I'm back.
We're back.
Back.
Yeah, like there's just so many different elements to your music. It's so trippy at the same time. Are there any plans for like another video coming out soon?
Probably not. I mean, the two that we did were pretty expensive, and I don't want to do like just something that's just us playing in a warehouse or something. So probably not another music video till the next one, unless someone wants to pay for something cool. But we kind of exhausted our budget on that.
Okay. Fernando, do you have any questions?
Yeah, no, on a couple of songs, on a couple of pieces, I kind of got a little bit of a Frank Zappa vibe. Is he an influence of yours at all? I mean, because I don't know if you were aiming for that, but it did kind of seem like that to me, just from being a fan of Zappa.
No, not really. Just because I've just never. Zappa's one of those projects that I've just never undertaken to. There's so much stuff, and everybody has. You talk to a Zappa fan, and they're like, "Well, here's the 17 albums you got to check out by next week and report back." And it's always like a very intimidating thing. But if you want to email me and tell me what the Zappa stuff that reminds you of this record, I'd love to listen to those records and give you my thoughts on them.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. But no, Zappa's not really an influence of our band, but I totally get why, because he's just obviously has a reputation for being so eclectic and creative and crazy that a diverse record like that would probably, that would come up for some people. Like, I'm not particularly influenced by the Mars Volta either, but a lot of people bring that up. Although Jake's a huge fan, but just because that's another band where the music's just completely off the wall everywhere at all times. And yeah.
Let's talk about some of your history as well. Like you have mentioned, like you are a black metal fan. So who are some of the bands that you were gravitated to when you first started listening to black metal? Like who are some of your favorites?
Well, I really like I used to not like, so I used to hate black metal. And then when I finally got it, it was, and that's like the cool thing about a lot of different kinds of out there music. It's like a puzzle to unlock. Maybe it wasn't the same for you, but a lot of the things I like the most, like Primus or something, like I hated that band. I thought it was the worst thing ever. The Melvins, which is like my second favorite band next to Rush, probably. It's like, this is awful. And then when it's something about, well, why do so many people like it? You keep giving it a chance, and then you like get it. And then it's like, oh my God, it's like a whole other universe opens up to like a way of thinking about music or what it can be. It's the same thing with black metal for me, where I didn't really get it. And then the first band I think that I really liked was Wolves in the Throne Room, not necessarily because they're super groundbreaking or anything, but part of the pathway for me was that they weren't goofy. Like, they didn't have face paint, which I think is totally cool now. But at the time, like 10 years ago, I was like, no, I can't deal with all this corpse paint. It's too silly. But the bands that were not doing that and were just having this like sort of weird, like reverent, like I don't know if have you ever seen them play?
Not
Wolves in the Throne Room.
No, but actually,
Jenna, have you seen them?
they opened for 1349 like in the early 2010s.
I saw them play at like a fireman's banquet hall in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, that my friend was always finding these bizarre metal shows. And he was like, let's drive to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania and see Wolves in the Throne Room in a fireman's lodge. And it was like they had some candles. The whole place was it was ironic, in a fireman's lodge, all lit by candles. And it just had this very serene, like calm, even though it was crazy loud, like vibe. And everyone was just sort of in a trance. And that's the first time that I saw black metal live, like really when it was just black metal and black metal fans. And I really got it. And it clicked for me what it was, that it's this, in a lot of it is like the drumming is more like, it's not keeping a beat, it's keeping you in like a trance when it goes into the blast beat, and it just washes over you yeah. That was the first band that because of that show that I really got into it.
That's awesome. Yeah, you know what? The drums do kind of put you in a trance, because like Frost from Satyricon in 1349, like, damn, he like plays with such precision, but at the same time there's some melody to it, and you're just captivated by watching it. And he like barely moves at all when he's playing.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know how to pronounce it, and I think I'm mispronouncing it. The band Migla, or MGLA.
Yeah.
That guy's drumming is, I mean, that's like some of the most incredible drumming of any kind I can imagine. And in the black metal context, like what that guy is doing is just so unbelievable. Like he's doing the traditional black metal drumming, but with crazy ride, like progressive rock, like ride patterns and stuff. It's like, it seems like not human, like not a human being could possibly do it. It's so amazing. That's another black metal band I really, really like.
Yeah, they're awesome. I've listened to like some of their stuff. It's crazy like how fast some of these drummers can go. It really is.
I
know.
Yeah.
I love the bands that do not do like drum triggers, that are just like, that's something that drew me to Wolves in the Throne Room, and some of these American black metal bands, that like the recordings are definitely them playing in a room. And so the drummer, like you can hear the struggle of that, how hard it is to keep that snare going consistently for that long, at that speed, with that strength. And that's really cool to me, because black metal is very like a struggle kind of anguished music. So when it sounds very overproduced, and like someone used a trigger, replaced every drum hit with the perfect drum hit, it kind of takes me out of it. But the bands that allow it to breathe a little more are the ones I really like.
Definitely. Yeah, there's like like the roughness and the rawness of it, especially like early black metal albums. Like you don't get a lot of that these days. I mean, sometimes every now and then you'll hear a band, but yeah, like Mayhem, like some of those albums with dead on vocals, especially, like just so raw and awesome, especially the live ones. Like Live in Leipzig.
Yeah, a lot of that. Yeah. Early Dark Throne stuff. I mean, I like all the Dark Throne stuff. I think that everything that they've done is really cool, actually. Even their like black and roll stuff I really like, but the early stuff is cool. I think they've kept a really consistent aesthetic the whole time.
Yeah. I know they don't play live. It would be so cool
Play
to
live, yeah.
Yeah, it would be so
Yeah, it would
cool.
be so awesome.
Maybe we can manifest it with this interview.
Yeah. A very black metal type thing.
Yeah. But yeah, like when you were growing up, what were some songs that like when you listen to now that really bring you back to a time when you were a kid, that have kind of impacted like the way you are as a person now?
Ooh, that's a pretty big question. And like just totally as a person,
Yeah,
or
because
just as a musician?
well, yeah, as a musician too, but like as a person, I mean, are at least like when you're listening as a kid, it impacts you like in a way that kind of changes like your perception on reality when you truly relate to lyrics, you know what I mean? Or like even a guitar solo or something like that.
Why don't I do the job interview thing and flip it on you and ask you one so I can have time to think? How about you give an example of you?
Okay, we'll go to Pantera. Like this,
Right.
like when you're getting absolute bullshit thrown towards you, especially like when you're growing up in school, and it's like when you're kind of the only metalhead in a small mountain town, you're kind of the black sheep essentially. But like music like Pantera with Walk, or like A New Level, or Rise, like that just kind of helps you like boost your confidence, especially when you sit in your room listening to it over and over and over again. Or like Cannibal Corpse, for example, like as a kid going through some things and you get like really pissed off, or someone just angers you and you just, or if you're like mad at the world type of thing, just throw on Cannibal Corpse, listening to Barbaric Bludgeonings, or something like that. Just like calm piece.
I gotta say, I've never heard. This is my first story of a teen girl's angst getting worked out by barbaric bludgeonings. So that's a new one for me. It's usually Avril Lavigne or Britney Spears. So good on you for having better taste.
I love Britney. Don't get me wrong. Love
Yeah,
Avril too.
Britney's great.
But Cannibal Corpse, though, I mean, you just don't get that sense of calmness after listening to like the Kill album, or like Fucked with a Knife or something like that you would with Baby One More Time or Skater Boy.
Okay, I think I understand your question now. Yeah, so I mean, my first favorite band when I was really getting into music was AC/DC, and um, that kind of sleaze rock was super empowering to me when I was a kid, because I was really, really shy, really nerdy, and just that kind of like stupid masculine bullshit kind of rock with that amazing groove like just gave me confidence to not take everything so seriously and to just you know like it's just such great party music. It's all about drinking and dicks basically. And when you've never had a drink and you feel like you'll never feel the touch of a woman for your entire life when you're 13, AC/DC is a cool band to listen to and to feel cool. But I had no one liked it that I knew. um, I put it upon my two younger friends that lived in my grandparents' town in Pennsylvania, and like we kind of all discovered this music together. But living here in the DC area, I had no friends that liked that kind of music. So all of the stuff that I discovered when I was young felt like it was just for me. And so it's like getting into like Rush and progressive rock and stuff like that. It felt when I moved and then into more heavy stuff like Pantera and Meshuggah and In Flames and stuff like that. It all felt like really intensely personal because I had only really two people to share it with that didn't live near me. So and we all had either no internet or dial-up internet. So it wasn't like we were chatting about it all the time. And then so yeah, I mean, I remember feeling like really empowered by stuff like Pantera and really, really into that, you know, especially those first two records, Regular People, Conceit. I used to listen to that a million times in a row. And I felt really empowered. Like Rush is still my favorite band, and a lot of that music felt like it was speaking so intensely to me. there are a lot of themes about like teenage alienation in a lot of Rush's music, but it's like really smart, and it's really appeals to a kid that's like, well, I want to be cool, but I'm smart, I'm really intellectual. And that's part of the enduring power of Rush, I think, is that they were able to speak to so many different types of people, the nerdy teenager primary among them.
Yeah, that's like the beauty of music. It's like it kind of takes a place where that it teaches you things that parents like. No, it teaches you another way of life, essentially. Like a more like it can be like more
Yeah.
real too. Because sometimes parents can be overshadowing or if you don't have like a parent or you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's it's such an intense identity marker for so many
Yeah,
people, myself included, and I probably obviously both of you, but um it forms a part of you that is just indelible and so intensely personal to you. And it just makes me really sad that a lot of people sort of drop out of listening to new music when they hit into their mid-20s or whatever and just go back to the old stuff, because you can exercise that muscle. Yes, you are like primed to make the most intense memories when you're in your late teens and early 20s, but you can keep that muscle going for discovery and to create intense moments and use music to help you through a lot of things. If you keep seeking out new stuff, you just have to keep exercising that part of your brain and seeking out new things all the time.
definitely. That's yeah, especially now when there's so much new music coming out. I and a lot of bands are unsigned too, like the Space Zebra show on Twitch on the DW Presents Twitch channel. Like there are so many amazing bands on there that the world needs to know about, you know?
Yeah.
And the production quality is amazing. There's so much out there. And then there's like stuff like your music, which is just crazy, chaotic and everything.
Okay.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, this more people need to realize that this is a time where like I think it's one of the best times in music right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Fernando, do you have any questions?
No, actually, I don't know if you covered it at all whatsoever, but I was kind of interested in how you came up with the name of the album, actually, this latest album.
Okay, well that's actually pretty interesting. So I just always wanted to call an album that, and it's sort of, and I just think it's an awesome sounding thing, but this ties into exactly what we were just talking about. So I grew up not really listening to music. Like my parents did not listen to music at all. They listened to the news on the radio. And the local station that they listened to, WTOP News, that was like the soundtrack to my life. And their tagline was live from the Glass Enclosed Nerve Center. And it's this weird thing, like that was their headquarters or whatever. And I always just thought that was such a cool sounding thing. And it kind of makes me think about Washington, D.C. and what we talked about at the beginning of the interview, like looking in and looking out and like a glass building. And I was just like, I want to call it this. And there's so many different reasons. And also like, there were just a lot of things like during the pandemic, I got really sick with like this nerve disease and I was like going numb in all my extremities. And it was pretty terrifying to go through. And it might've been from COVID. I don't know what it was from. And it lasted for like 6 months and went away. And a lot of people have gone through the same thing. Either as an adverse reaction of the vaccine or from COVID. So when I had like this crazy nerve thing and I was seeing neurologists all the time, I was like, well, this is the sign that it has to be Glass Enclosed Nerve Center. Like now, like the neurological system I'm getting all these tests and everything. It's like a part of my life. I'm seeing all these doctors. So I was like, this is what it's going to be called. And the band agreed, and they liked my justifications for it. They thought it was sounding really cool. And then when we announced the name of the record in June, the radio station WTOP reached out to us like right away on Twitter and was like, do you want to come to the station and do an interview? So we were on the radio the next week, probably, to the interview ran, every 15 minutes for a day. So it was short, it's a radio. It was like they cut it down to like 45 seconds. And the whole thing is on the internet, and there's a longer article, but it was really cool. I mean, we were getting blasted out to, a huge amount of people that had heard of our band for the first time. It's like the most listened to radio station in the DC area. So, and they were fascinated by the whole story about, why I named it what I named it. And they were all really cool. And the guy who interviewed me has a really unique voice, and he's sort of a local legend. It turns out he has a band. he was a big musician, and it was really cool. So yeah, Glass Enclosed Nerve Center, WTOP News here in DC. That's the main thing. But the whole thing has been such a wild trip to like, I'm even looking around now, I'm seeing all this stuff they gave us, all these magnets and cups, and the other thing is the Glass Enclosed Nerve Center isn't real. The guy who came up with the name just made it up. There was no glass building. It was just nothing. He just said people will be really like enraptured by this if we say this. And apparently the rest of the staff was like, that's the stupidest thing ever. It's awful. Don't do it. And he was like, no, I'm the boss. We're doing it. And it turned out to be like a legendary thing in the DC area. So the power of suggestion.
Definitely. Wow. That's
really
really
cool.
cool.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's really cool that they heard you, for the call out, and they embraced it, and then instead of saying like, who's this guy trying to bite off, something that we came up with. To me,
Exactly.
though, when I first heard it, I was like, are they talking like being in a lot of glass enclosures? That's the first thing that I picked up on. But I think it's also awesome that that you held on to it for so long, and just through life events that you had this kind of epiphanous moment that's like, it has to be this, because it just fits with what's really going on. And it's really cool that it just kind of encompasses it. I mean, it seems like it really does encompass what the songs sound like or about.
That's really cool.
I'm
glad you're picking up on that, and that you agree. Epiphanous is a great adjective.
Yeah. Well, those are all of my questions. We've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting conversation.
That it has. Yeah, it's so cool. I had no idea about the North Dakota references until you told us. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks for being so candid with your answers and taking the time out. I really appreciate
Thank you guys for asking such cool questions and taking the time to care about what we're doing. So, it means a lot to us. And so, yeah, if you ever guys want to have any of the other people in the band on, or want to do a future episode, this was really, really cool. So
yeah, definitely.
I'll be promoting this when it comes out everywhere. And
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you so much again. Like, yeah, it's been such a cool interview. So I'm so excited to start writing it.
cool. I think I'm gonna go listen to Pantera.
Oh, fuck yeah. I gotta go get ready for
Yeah.
the Shotgun Facelift show tonight.
All right, awesome. Well, great meeting both of you. And
Yeah, nice meeting you.
Likewise meeting you. Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you have a wonderful rest of the evening.
Can I exit this now?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. Woohoo!